Now we start this hour, and Turkey's foreign and defence ministers and intelligence chief plan to travel to Pakistan this week to discuss its stop-start talks with Afghanistan over a ceasefire in place in South Asia, announced by President Tayyip Erdogan. According to an official readout of the Turkish president's comments on a return flight from Baku, where he met Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, Erdogan said the visit aims to seal a permanent ceasefire and peace between the nations as soon as possible. This comes as reports circulate of comments made by the Afghan foreign minister in a phone call with his Iranian counterpart, where Amir Khan Muttaqi said the Pakistani side had been unwilling to take responsibility for certain issues, which hindered progress and prevented concrete outcomes. Okay, now joining us is Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He's a senior strategic and defence expert, and he joins us live from New Delhi. Dr. Kochhar, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. Turkey and Pakistan say they're closely to sealing a framework with the Taliban government. What concrete outcomes can we expect from this meeting later this week?
Thank you, Thomas. It's a very interesting development because we were not hearing good news about the talks between Pakistan and Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, strong statements were emanating from both sides, whereas Pakistan Defence Minister Khwaja Asif also made a statement that if there is any incident on the border from the Afghan side, then Pakistan will launch an attack, and that will be the end of the ceasefire. This ceasefire as it is very, very fragile because none of the agreements or is none of the issues which have been mentioned in this particular thing have been actually reconciled. So I think it's extremely important now to understand one thing. Turkey is coming in. Turkey was also earlier also involved because all these talks were in Istanbul, and Turkey wants to project itself as a leader of the Islamic world, and that's why everywhere it wants to project an image that Turkey is one of the leaders of the Islamic world, and we have seen this happening in the Middle East also. So now possibilities, I don't think certain important agreements, certain important confidence building measures will have to be initiated. The first is that there would be a need for a monitoring cell in which you may like to have some UN observers or from Qatar and Turkey, because it's extremely important to understand that Pakistan's main desire has been that there should not be any shelter to the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan from the Afghanistan soil. So this monitoring cell is required to ensure that there is no violation of that kind. That is point number one. Point number two is that the major contentious issue is the Durand line. So you can have a temporary ceasefire, you can have a temporary lull, but the major issues subsequently will have to be taken up, and through a mediator, if you want to take up, I think Turkey can be a mediator because Turkey is very close to Pakistan, and Turkey leadership is close to Afghanistan leadership also. But I feel that I think a stepwise solution or a stepwise process would be better. The first would be to establish a monitoring cell so that Pakistan is assured that there is no Taliban support to Tehrik-e-Taliban, and then you can come up to the issues. Second important aspect is they would need to establish military hotlines. As India and Pakistan have these hotlines, so advantage of these hotlines is that the moment some small incident has taken place on the border, it should not escalate into a major kind of action either by Pakistan or Afghanistan. So these hotlines are basically de-escalation mechanisms,
Yes.
and I think there would be a requirement to establish these hotlines. And the next important aspect is those corridors, Chaman and Torkham. Those are the places where the entry and exit from Afghanistan into Pakistan and vice versa takes place. Those are the trade routes. Trade must commence, because this is one important aspect, because unless you commence the trade between the two countries, you will not expect normalization to take place. And my last point is about the refugees. They are almost 8 to 10 lakh refugees in Afghanistan, in Pakistan. So Pakistan has already started a process of troubling them, identifying them, and sending them back. So I think in the talks with the Turkey, refugee issues must also come, and I think
Yes.
what the Afghanistan Foreign Minister Mutaki was actually referring to, because Pakistan should also understand that these kind of actions, if they take against the Afghani refugees, is likely to create heartburn among the leadership of Taliban. So these are,
Yes.
in a nutshell, I feel, major issues which would need to be addressed.
Yes, and Dr. Kachar, of course, these talks are set to resume next week. Just very briefly, because we have to move on, who has more leverage going into them, Islamabad or Kabul?
Leverage, I feel that Pakistan should have the more leverage, because Pakistan is a stronger country. Pakistan has the resources here to cause some kind of friction in Afghanistan. So I think Pakistan has a leverage available to it to negotiate with the Taliban. And one important aspect is, after all, this Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, they are Pakistani Pashtuns. So their families are residing in Pakistan. Taliban also has their families, their children who are
Yes.
studying in Pakistan. A large population of Afghanistan is studying in Pakistan, working in Pakistan. So that kind of leverage Pakistan has, as I actually mentioned to you, the refugee issue, that's a big leverage which Pakistan has.
Yes, Dr. Kachar, do stay with us. We have further stories coming out of South Asia coming up next. Pakistan's government has proposed the 27th constitutional amendment, a major restructuring of the military and judiciary. The bill makes Army Chief Asim Munir the constitutionally supreme head of all armed forces, abolishing the post of Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff. Munir will also oversee Pakistan's nuclear and strategic arsenal as Chief of Defence Forces. Officers awarded 5-star ranks like Field Marshal will gain a lifetime privilege and constitutional protections. The amendment also creates a new federal constitutional court, reducing the Supreme Court's powers and increasing executive influence over judicial appointments. Supporters call it modernisation. Critics warn it centralises military power and weakens civilian oversight. Now, if passed, it will mark Pakistan's most significant defence and judicial reform in decades. Joining us once again is Dr. Kachar to discuss this development coming out of Pakistan. General Asim Munir, an individual who Donald Trump is a big fan of, has now unified command under this new 27th Amendment, while Pakistan's Supreme Court powers are being curtailed. Is this effectively a return to a quote-unquote controlled democracy?
This is an interesting development. The 27th Constitution Amendment and as well as the Article 243 of the Constitution, which lays down how the various appointments, how the armed forces is going to function under the government and things like that. So I think first we should understand that uh, they want to have a chief of defense forces. That means the army chief, and I would name Field Marshal Munir here. He wants to control all the three services: Army, Air Force, and Navy. So one major aspect of this constitutional amendment is that the entire powers of the armed forces are going to be with one man, and he is General Munir. A
Yeah.
second important aspect is of the nuclear aspect. The nuclear, like we have the strategic forces command, uh, they are going to have a national strategic command, and there will be either a four-star general part of this who will be actually heading it. So why this is disturbing is from the present arrangement is the nuclear control also General Munir wants to keep it with him, because right now we have the NSA, NCA, a National Command Authority, where the Prime Minister is actually heading the authority, and we have the Chief of Defence Staff also part of this, and the Chief of Army Staff, and the Chief of Naval, and the Air Force. Now, what happens that once you nominate a commander of the National Strategic Command, he is going to exercise operational control over all the nukes, and he is going to report to the CDF. So this is an interesting change. We would like to see how the blueprint emerges, but apparently what I can make out now is that General Munir wants to consolidate the nuclear power also with him. The
Yeah.
third important aspect, actually, you mentioned about the judicial aspects. So now a provision is being made in the constitution that whatever the powers of the Chief of Army Staff or the CDS, they would not be under judicial review or scrutiny, and that is disturbing. So we would like to see, as the blueprint is passed by the Parliament, what kind of judicial curtailment of powers has been proposed in this constitution amendment bill. And a last important aspect is that there seems to be a military dominance over the civil dominance, and we are actually seeing this happening. Right from Operation Sindoor, we saw this happening. So
Yes.
it is slowly an impression is being given that a transfer of powers is taking place from the civilian control to the military control without a coup taking place. So I would call it in my own language a constitutional coup, because this is a coup of a different kind, and this is a coup you orchestrated through the constitution by actually having an amendment to the constitution. You are trying to create an environment where the military is going to assume stronger control, greater control than the civilian authority, and that is why I say, as you also actually mentioned, that this is a threat to the democratic fabric of the Pakistani society as it is. We know
Yes.
that there is no
Um,
democracy in Pakistan as of now.
Yes, and Dr. Kachar, of course, officially on paper, Pakistan is a federal parliamentary republic. However, the military and intelligence establishment wield decisive power in Pakistan already. For those international viewers that don't know, Dr. Kachar, would you mind filling us in a little bit about the power that the military and intelligence service holds in Pakistan currently, even prior to this amendment?
See, prior to this amendment, the way Pakistan actually functions is that Pakistan Army by itself is very, very powerful, because the entire security of the Prime Minister, including the Prime Minister's house, is done by the Pakistan Army. There is an officer, there is a secretariat there. It's a very different setup. We have not seen this in any actually country. There is a secretariat in the Prime Minister's residence, which is manned by a senior officer of the Pakistan Army, and he has got all his guards and people there. So it is giving an impression in general to the Prime Minister also that you are not an independent Prime Minister, you are controlled by the military. Second aspect is the Prime Minister cannot take any decision without the concurrence of the Army Chief because of the over influence of the Army Chief in the matters which are political in nature. I'll give you an example. In the last elections, we saw how Imran Khan and his supporters ransacked the Corps commander's residence in Lahore, and how things after that Imran Khan was put under arrest and jail. And military courts are trying these cases. You can imagine that there is a military court which is parallelly running to the Supreme Court in Pakistan. So this is also a very different kind of an equation which we find in Pakistan, because no foreign relations in Pakistan can be accomplished without consent of the military, and that is why President Trump is he is inviting the Field Marshal again and again.
Yes.
He is giving the importance to the Field Marshal on all matters, including political affairs. So you can see the cloud military is playing in Pakistan.
Yes. Dr. Kachar, do stay with us. We have further news coming out of Pakistan, where Pakistan Railways has suspended the Jafar Express service between Quetta and Peshawar for 4 days from November the 9th to the 12th due to security reasons in Balochistan. The suspension follows several attacks on the train, including the deadly March hijacking by the Balochistan Liberation Army, which killed a total of 26 people. The decision, advised by security agencies, aims to protect passengers and railway staff. Locals are concerned about the impact on thousands of commuters who depend on the affordable train service. The Jafar Express has been repeatedly targeted by insurgents in recent months, with multiple incidents of attacks and derailments. We will, of course, bring you all the news in regards to that as we move forward. But now we have breaking news coming out of the Middle East.